Dost, and welcome back to Crypto Brain. And before we begin today's market breakdown, I want you to pause for a moment and seriously think about this, because what is happening around Toshi right now is no longer looking like a normal memecoin narrative. This is starting to feel like the early stages of something far bigger, and the reason traders across the market are suddenly paying attention is because one of the most powerful and controversial names in the world has now entered the discussion: Donald Trump. And Doston, the moment a mysterious Trump-related signal started circulating across crypto Twitter private Telegram groups and insider trading spaces. The entire atmosphere around Toshi changed almost instantly, because within hours whale wallets began moving quickly. Trading activity started accelerating and social engagement around Toshi exploded at a speed that even experienced analysts did not expect. And this is exactly why the market is becoming nervous, because in crypto history, whenever political influence, media attention, and meme culture begin colliding at the same time, markets tend to become extremely unpredictable and potentially explosive. Now, officially, there has been absolutely no confirmation connecting Donald Trump directly to Toshi, and that is extremely important to understand. But in financial markets, perceptional one can create momentum. Because traders do not wait for certainty, they position themselves around probability, and right now, the probability narrative surrounding Toshi is becoming more aggressive by the day, because investors are asking every dangerous question: why is Trump's name suddenly being associated with Toshi, specifically when thousands of meme coins already exist across the market? And this is where the psychology behind the current narrative starts becoming fascinating, because experienced investors understand that powerful figures rarely attract market attention accidentally, especially when the discussion begins spreading organically across multiple communities simultaneously. And Doston, what makes this even more interesting is the timing, because over the last several months, Donald Trump's relationship with crypto has visibly evolved dramatically, from previously criticizing digital assets to now openly engaging with NFTs, blockchain discussions, and crypto-friendly narratives. And this shift alone has already changed how traders react whenever Trump-related crypto rumors begin appearing online, because the market now understands that political influence over digital assets is no longer impossible. In fact, many analysts believe future election cycles may become heavily connected to blockchain communities, digital finance, and online economic ecosystems. And if it eventually happens, meme coins with strong online communities could become powerful attention magnets. Now let's talk about Toshi itself, because many people still misunderstand why the project has managed to attract so much interest in such a short period of time, and the answer is actually very simple: community psychology combined with ecosystem positioning, because Toshi is deeply connected to the base ecosystem, which itself continues expanding rapidly due to Coinbase infrastructure support, and whenever a blockchain ecosystem begins growing aggressively, smaller community-driven assets inside that ecosystem often become speculative magnets for traders looking for high-risk, high-reward opportunities. And historically, this exact pattern has repeated itself multiple times across crypto history, from Ethereum-based meme tokens to Solana ecosystem projects, and now many traders believe Base may be entering a similar expansion phase. But there is where things become genuinely important, because the market is no longer discussing Toshi purely as a meme coin. Many investors are now discussing it as a potential cultural asset, and there is a huge difference between those two things, because meme coins usually survive on temporary hype, while cultural assets survive on identity, emotion, and mass participation. And now the Toshi community appears to be evolving beyond simple speculation, because engagement across social platforms continues growing aggressively. New holders continue entering the ecosystem, and perhaps most importantly, whale accumulation patterns are beginning to attract attention from analysts who speculate on chain behavior, and Doston whale behavior matters enormously. Because large investors rarely move randomly, they position themselves strategically, often before broader public attention arrives. And recently, several analysts have highlighted unusual wallet activity connected to Toshi, particularly during consolidation periods where larger transactions appeared, while price action remained relatively controlled. And this is often considered classic accumulation behavior, because sophisticated traders prefer building ions quickly before major narratives become mainstream, and once liquidity begins accelerating, markets can move extremely quickly, especially inside lower market cap assets where relatively small amounts of capital can create enormous percentage moves. This is exactly why the current Trump narrative is becoming so dangerous, because whether true or false, the market is reacting emotionally, and emotional reactions create volatility, and volatility creates opportunity and risk simultaneously. Because once traders begin believing a project could See broader political attention, liquidity starts centering aggressively, not because of confirmed fundamentals, but because of anticipated momentum. And crypto history has shown repeatedly that anticipated momentum alone can create massive market cycles. Now, another reason investors are becoming obsessed with this narrative is because many traders still remember what happened with Dogecoin during the Elon Musk cycle, because at first Dogecoin was treated purely as a joke. But eventually the combination of internet culture, celebrity attention, and mass social engagement transformed it into one of the most recognized meme assets in the world. And today many investors are asking whether Toshi could potentially follow a similar path, particularly if influential figures continue becoming indirectly connected to the conversation. And that is why the phrase, "Why Trump choose Toshi?" has started trending so aggressively, because people are desperately trying to understand whether this is random internet speculation or the beginning of a much larger attention cycle. And here is where market psychology becomes incredibly important, because retail investors usually react after narratives become obvious, while smart money positions itself during uncertainty, because uncertainty is where the greatest asymmetrical opportunities often exist. And right now uncertainty surrounding Toshi is enormous, because on one side critics argue this entire narrative is simply another temporary meme cycle driven by speculation, while on the other side supporters believe the combination of political attention, whale accumulation, base ecosystem growth and community momentum could potentially create one of the strongest meme narratives of the next cycle. Now let's examine the structural side of the market, because beyond the rumors, the chart itself is also attracting attention from traders due to the way Toshi has been behaving during recent sessions, because instead of collapsing after volatility spikes, their structure has continued showing signs of resilience, with support zones repeatedly holding and higher participation levels appearing during consolidation phases. And this matters because healthy consolidation is often where stronger momentum cycles begin developing, especially when social engagement continues rising simultaneously, and if volume expansion eventually combines with breakout confirmation, then traders will likely start discussing completely new valuation zones for the project. However, experienced analysts always remain disciplined, because crypto markets are extremely emotional, and emotional markets can reverse violently at any moment, which is why professional traders never rely purely on hype. Instead, they monitor liquidity, wallet behavior, volume structure, and narrative strength together, because sustainable momentum usually requires all of those elements aligning simultaneously. And right now many investors believe Toshi may be entering precisely that type of alignment phase. And Doston, perhaps the most fascinating part of this entire situation is that mainstream financial media still has not fully focused on the story yet, because historically the biggest crypto moves often begin before traditional media attention arrives, and by the time major headlines finally appear, a large percentage of the move has usually already happened. And that is exactly why many traders are watching Toshi so carefully, because they fear missing another early-stage narrative before broader public awareness arrives. So at this stage, the smartest approach is not blind excitement and not blind skepticism, either theism. Our test approach is observation, because the market is clearly telling us that attention around Toshi is accelerating rapidly. And whenever attention accelerates, liquidity often follows, and when liquidity enters emotionally driven markets, price discovery can become extremely aggressive very quickly. Now, whether Donald Trump actually has any meaningful connection to Toshi remains completely unconfirmed, but one thing is absolutely undeniable. The narrative itself has already captured the market's imagination, and in crypto, imagination can become one of the strongest forces driving momentum, because once communities start believing a story, the market often begins reacting before reality fully arrives. And that is why traders across the world are now watching every signal, every whale wallet, every volume spike, and every social trend connected to Toshi, because if this narrative continues expanding the way it currently is, the next phase of market behavior could become extremely volatile and potentially extremely profitable for those positioned early enough. And Doston, perhaps the most important lesson in all of this is understanding how markets truly move, because explosive opportunities rarely look obvious in the beginning. They usually appear confusing, controversial, and highly uncertain. And that is exactly why only a small percentage of investors ever manage to position themselves early, while the majority waits for confirmation after the biggest moves have already happened. And right now, whether this Trump and Toshi narrative becomes reality, or simply another chapter in crypto speculation, the market reaction itself is already becoming impossible to ignore, because attention is increasing, liquidity is moving, and the conversation surrounding Toshi is becoming larger every single day. So for now, keep your emotions controlled, keep watching the charts, keep tracking the whale activity, and most importantly, pay attention to where smart money appears to be positioning, because in crypto, timing and psychology often matter more than anything else. And the next few weeks could become extremely important for the future direction of Toshi. This is Crypto Brain. Stay sharp, stay ahead of the crowd, and I'll see you in the next market breakdown.